Where buyers can get a mortgage? How do they, if they're not in Tennessee, let's say, there's some different state, who should they talk to? Where can they get a mortgage?
Yeah, well, they call me. But, a lot of times the first step typically is buyer will go to their bank. Because it makes sense. That's, you bank at, I'm just going to say the initials, WF. You bank there and you think, okay, I need to go there to go get my mortgage. That's not always the case. It does make sense because that's your first thought. But you definitely want to make sure you review all of your options and you're not just shoved a mortgage. It's not just about, here's your mortgage, here's your payment, go buy a house. It's about a lender who is there to advise you and explain the best loan for you. Even though, let's say you might have 20% down payment, it might not be the best loan for you at that time. So that's where somebody like myself comes in. So you can find me anytime. You can find me online, you Google me, you call me, you email me, whatever. But I'm your mortgage resource.
Awesome. Now, one of the options is mortgage and you. What is different between you? Is that like
the bank and me?
Yeah, bank and you. How are you different?
Sure. And I've worked for them, so I know exactly what I'm talking about because I've been there for years. How are we different? So number one, we're licensed a little bit different. We're all licensed as far as we all have an NMLS number. And, before you do anything as far as working with a lender, Google us, Google me, Google anybody and everybody you're working with. But when you go to a bank, bank kind of operates a bit different. They love to fill their pipelines up. This is how I felt when I was working at a very large bank. I'm not giving any names, but they're in the news a lot lately. So when I was working for that bank, I always felt I never met closing timelines. Why? Because the bank was all about filling up their pipeline. So it was never about, unfortunately, it was never about customer service. It was all about just saying, we have this many billions loans in the pipeline, but none of them were coming out of that pipeline, meaning closing. Okay, I was stuck with these loans. I could never, especially when the refinances were big. That's when back in the refinance days. These pipelines your loan was stuck in that pipeline for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, okay, that you weren't closing. So guess what? Everybody's not going to be a happy camper when you're not closing for 6 months. So when a company does loans, and loans is all they do, like Movement Mortgage, what do you think my primary focus is? My primary focus and only focus is you, the buyer, right? So versus when you go to a bank, they have checking accounts, savings accounts, car notes, all this other stuff they got to concentrate on, and mortgages are not their priority. So when you go to a correspondent lender like myself, I will take care of you because you are the only thing that I care about is getting your loan closed on time.
So main difference is you guys take care of it more personally. Exactly. You guys specialize, especially in the mortgages, and you have shorter closing times.
Sure, absolutely. And awesome. Not to mention, and I say this all the time, challenge a bank to underwrite your file and give you an answer on your mortgage file in 6 hours. Just do it. Challenge them. Say, look, I'll buy a lottery ticket if you do it in 6 hours. They just don't. They can't process your file that quickly. Just because they're back office is operations, meaning who's going to process your file, underwrite your file.
Somewhere out there.
Out there, right. We're going to call them in a different universe. They're not going to operate that quick, because that's not their priority. So
paid by hour.
They go home at 5 o'clock.
When people apply for a mortgage, what kind of lending costs they should expect? What kind of fees and what they should expect?
And I relate this to getting an apartment, right? So when you get an apartment, what are the 3 main things you have to pay? First month rent, security deposit, and a lot of us like myself, back in the day, I had a pet, so I have a pet deposit. So 3 things. So you got first month rent, let's make it easy, $1,000. You got a security deposit, about $1,000. And you got a pet deposit, about $500. So what are we talking about? About $2,500. So on average, when you get an apartment, you have to put in that much. Mm-hmm. So we kind of look at it the same way. but a lot of these costs are going to come back to you much quicker, meaning at closing. So when you write the contract, there are three main things you want to be prepared for. Number one, you got an earnest money deposit. That is the monies that you're going to write to the seller, and that tells the seller you are an interested buyer and you're ready to buy their house. Number two, you're going to spend money for a home inspection. Home inspection costs approximately $350. And by the way, the EMD cost is probably going to be about $500.
What's EMD?
EMD is the earnest money deposit.
Okay.
Sorry. EMD, then you got the home inspection. And thirdly, you're going to be paying for an appraisal, okay? Because appraisers not going to go out there unless they're paid. And we pay our appraisers immediately as soon as we order. What does that also tell you? They're going to get their appraisal done and back to us quicker because they're already paid.
Okay.
So if we're doing the math here, we got $500 for earnest money. We've got about $350, let's just make it $500 worst case for a home inspection. And you've got another $500-ish for an appraisal. So what is that? $1,500. So you got to have about $1,500 on average in the bank at the time when you're ready to purchase a home.
Okay, that's going to be the expenses.
Yes.
And can they include these expenses in the closing cost?
They can mostly. So appraisal, absolutely. Your EMD, the earnest money, will come back to you at the time of closing. Of course, assuming we have to make sure that the check clears your bank account before we can give you credit for those funds. The only funds that are out of your pocket is your home inspection, okay? Because that is your choosing for making sure that the home is in good standing condition.
And these expenses are not the closing cost. So people are not
appraisal is the closing cost. So appraisal is the only closing cost. True closing cost for a mortgage is the appraisal.
That's one of the expenses.
Uh-huh.
But it's
correct.
not going to be the closing cost of the $500 closing cost. The closing cost includes more fees, different fees.
Oh yes,
not
there
just
are
the
other fees.
appraisal.
These are the upfront, like what you need to be prepared for as you're sitting there in front of Victor writing an offer. You should have in your head, okay, Ira said and Victor said, I need to have about $1,500 in the bank, and these are the three main expenses I'm going to be spending that $1,500 on in the next 2 weeks or so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, this is a tricky question, but I'm pretty sure you're ready for it. What not to do during the mortgage? What my buyer shouldn't do? And sometimes it doesn't matter if I say it. They still do it a lot of times. But what should people be ready in their mind not to do?
Right. So not only are we going to talk to you about it over the phone, or in person, or whenever we meet. We're going to send you this handy dandy, and you don't have to see it now. I'm going to read some of the stuff list to you, and it's going to make you laugh, but I promise you it's going to make you think. All right. And some of the stuff on here is kind of like this. This is simple stuff, but guys, people do this every day, and this is when you jeopardize home ownership. Okay. This is when you jeopardize not getting a mortgage. Things like, I changed jobs. Even if you're working at hospital A and you're going to hospital B, some loan programs require a 30-day pay stub. So let's say you even went for a higher pay as a nurse. You went from hospital A to hospital B, you're getting paid more money now. Everything is fantastic. To you, it absolutely makes sense, and it absolutely makes sense, but not for a mortgage if the lender's requiring a 30-day pay stub. So just simple things like this, like changing jobs, buying a car. You buy a car, you're going to live in it. I'm just letting you know, that's going to be your house. Not spending your monies. So whatever you put in the loan application, we're expecting you to keep that money in the bank until you close, minus those three things we talked about, because that's monies into the transaction. We get that you're going to spend that money. Please tell us about all of your debts and obligations. If you lend somebody money, like to a family member, and I'm not kidding you on this, you could give somebody a personal loan, and we're going to know about it because you're going to start making deposits into your checking account, and we're going to ask you what these deposits are. Why are you getting $100 deposits every week? And you're going to tell me then, oh, I lent money to my cousin. Okay, we need to know about that. So, because we need to document that then. That's actually a question on the application. Not buying furniture. And I know people get so excited. I get it. It's your new house. It's wide open. You just see yourself in it, and it's so exciting. You want to get your furniture. You want to get your washer and dryer, but you can't.
A TV. TV.
Not a TV, the beautiful, beautiful big TV. Like, my husband's obsessed with his TV. I get it. I get it. Not until you buy a house. And when I say not until you buy a house, not until you record. Meaning, you sign your paperwork. Then the next day, the title examiner takes all that paperwork to the courthouse. They record. So that means not even probably wait a couple weeks if that's what you're looking to do. But like not co-signing loans. I mean, I'm talking like this is simple stuff, and I hear you. You're probably gonna be like, why are you even discussing this? Guys, this happens every day. And usually we find out about it at the 11th hour. Of course, I eliminate all of this because we send this list to you. We always copy the realtor. We discuss this list. And these problems, 99.8% are prevented. There's always that 0.1%. And we also we put
and we love them. We love them.
Yes, we love them too, and we make it happen anyway. But it's so much more hassle that you don't need to go through. That's it. Yeah.